Hello, thanks for tuning in. It's Stuart again, classical record collector and also seller. My website, lpclassical.co.uk. I'm listing items on there every single day, trying to list the most interesting records that I've got. And I'm also doing lots. I'm doing a sort of job lot of 9 records for £20. You know, so if you're building a collection, maybe that's the sort of thing you'll be interested in. But just moving on, what this video is going to be about is all the criticism that vinyl gets, and may I say even hate that vinyl gets. And I'm going to be dealing with a number of points that people continually make, mainly CD fans, streaming fans, people who claim they love vinyl but seem to hate on it. So I'm going to be talking about that. First of all though, every time I do a video I'm going to comment on some records I've been listening to recently. So yeah, I picked this up in a charity shop, and I've actually sold it, by the way. Yeah, I've actually sold it. It does have a pressing bubble on one of the sides which reduced the price quite a bit, but you know, I'm happy with the price that I've got for it, and I'm shipping it out tomorrow. It's a Far Eastern customer who seems to buy records here and then have them shipped to wherever he is overseas. So I thought this would go to a Far Eastern customer. So yeah, it's a superb copy. Shame about that pressing bubble, but anyway, I'd rather have it and sell it than not have it at all. I mean, I only paid £2 for it, so. But let's just say, last time I said that Mahler's 9 wasn't one of my favourite Mahler symphonies. Well, I listened to the first and second movements. I thought, actually, I think I should reappraise that. It's a better symphony than I remembered. But I haven't heard the Barbaroli version before. He's conducting the Berlin Philharmonic. And then I listened to the third movement and I was absolutely blown away. It was just, it's one of those movements that just sort of draws you into it and sort of won't let you go. It's got this sort of hypnotic intensity to it, and just incredible music. So yeah, that is going out in the post tomorrow. So well, I suppose if I want to listen to it, I think there's a Classics for Pleasure of this record. I think so. I can just listen to the reissue. So anyway, then there's another record, or rather Fontana. Actually, I like Fontana. They're not a bad label. The pressings are okay. Now the reason I'm showing you this record is because I listened to a piece on here called Invitation to the Dance, Weber. Yeah, Weber's Invitation to the Dance. And if you've never heard that, you know, you don't often see it on CDs or records. Quite rare actually to see it. And I just think that's such a fabulous piece of music. I really rate Weber as a composer, his operas, overtures, clarinet concerto, concertino, I think. So yeah, that is an absolutely superb piece of music. And on the same side we've got Liszt Mephisto Waltz. I mean, this Fontana is worth hardly anything, and yet it's got some amazing music on it, well recorded as well. Okay, so moving on, yeah, talking about what people typically say about vinyl, why they got out of vinyl. I back in the, when was it, the late 80s, I was living in Derby, and that's when I discovered vinyl. But of course, before I discovered vinyl, I was big into CDs. Before that I was into vinyl, because obviously in the 70s when I was a teenager I was buying my Blondie and Queen LPs and Pink Floyd, and of course I had a record player with 2 speakers from Curry's, just like a lot of us did in those days. Something that wasn't brilliant really at all, but we've got fond memories of. So yeah, I started with vinyl. Like a lot of you guys, I was initially impressed with CDs, and I thought, yep, this is the thing. This is just so fantastic. It's got all the advantages that records haven't got, and I started building a CD collection. I discovered classical music and I was away. I mean, I had maybe 300 or 400 CDs, 20 opera sets, Beethoven 1 to 9, you know, you name it, I had it. I was really building my collection. I had a CD50 SE player, which I think at that particular time was one of the best players around for the money. Actually, I'll tell you how much that CD player was. I remember the price. If my memory serves me correctly, it was £350, which, you know, in today's money is like £1,000. I can't believe. But yeah, just amazing with the remote control and everything. It was just fantastic technology. I had a pair of Rogers LS4A speakers and I had an amplifier. I can't remember what it was, but you know, I liked that system until I started listening to records again. I picked up a second-hand record player. I saw some records at a car boot sale, and I gradually got back into records. And once I realised that records were more satisfying to listen to than CDs, then I stopped buying CDs, and I only bought records. Now, there was a shop in Derby called MDT Classics, right? I'm sure a lot of you guys must remember them. They were one of the leading retailers in the UK, and they only closed down about 5 or 6 years ago, because obviously now it's all streaming. They had a shop in Derby, and I used to go in when I was buying CDs, and the guy that ran it, Les, and his wife, lovely lady, can't remember what her name was, but she was a big Callas fan, as I am now. And you know, we used to have some great conversations about music, and it was a fabulous shop. I used to buy my CDs from there. I spent quite a bit of money there, and they were telling me about how well things are going, and they're thinking of closing the shop down and just going mail order, and they did eventually do that, unfortunately. So I really used to enjoy going in there, and you know, I enjoy talking about the music with them, which, if you're into classical music, it's really nice when you can go in and talk with the owners who are enthusiastic about the music as well. So that shop sort of had everything. I was really, really happy buying the CDs. And I knew the people that owned it, but when I stopped buying CDs and I started buying records, I remember that, I don't know, I think I bumped into one of them and around the city, and they said, "Oh, Stuart, you know, we haven't seen you for a while." I said, "Oh yeah, I'm getting back into records." And they said to me, "Oh, records? Oh, we've finished with that. You know, never again. We'll never do that again. We've been there, we've done that. We've now progressed to the perfection, which is compact disc." And well, I mean, what could I say to that? I didn't say anything at all. I said, "Well, you know, good luck to." Yeah, I did say. I think I said something like, "Well, okay." That's fine. We were on the street, and I wasn't going to stand there and debate it with them. I just left them to it. And I then noticed over the years that they'd done quite well in mail order. Yeah, so MDT Classics. Yeah. So let's go through what the reasons that people give that they reject vinyl, shall we? And I'll talk about them one at a time. Just a quick comment on technical issues. I've had some problems with my uploads recently with interference. Well, the microphone which I was using, I've now unplugged, and I've got an external cam. It's got a stupid little pinhole microphone in it, and that's what I'm using now. So I'm hoping that it's probably not, I mean, the sound quality is probably not as good, but at least maybe there won't be this horrible interference. We'll see. Okay, so yeah, so the first one, people always say, "Oh, I'm fed up listening to all the clicks and pops. I want to listen to the music." Yeah, okay, I absolutely get that. I absolutely couldn't agree with you more. I hate clicks and pops as well, to an extent. One has to make allowances. One has to make allowances, and I don't find it too intrusive. when I'm listening to a record and I hear an occasional, sound which is not the music. It doesn't really bother me. I don't know why. Of course, I'd rather the sound wasn't there, but on the irritation scale of 0 to 10, 0 being no irritation, 10 being absolutely pulling your hair out, I'd say that I'm on like 0.5 or 1 or maybe even 0, because I'm not aware of any irritation. The only time I do feel irritation is when it's too much. So there's a level of, shall we say, clicks and pops, which in my opinion are not really intrusive. And then if it increases, or if it's more, there's a certain level which would be considered intrusive. And if I've got any records like that, I try and clean them. If that doesn't do it, then it's to the charity shop or whatever. So, I mean, I must say that most of them, maybe 90% of the records in my own collection have not got this problem. I'm not saying they're completely noise free, but the level of issues on them is not sufficient to cause me any concern. Having said that, yeah, there are some records that are bad, and I agree with you. If you're talking about those records, then we're on the same page. But if you've got a zero tolerance level to any kind of sounds which are not the music on a record, obviously the medium is not for you, because you will hear something now and again. And I've got a mono copy of Grumio playing Bach Partita and Sonata. I listened to it yesterday. I listened to the partita, and it's not in brilliant condition, that record, and not at all. In fact, I'm not even selling it because, I mean, I would say it's like VG condition, which I suppose is almost sort of bad. But even with all the issues on it, I still enjoyed listening to Grumio's superb violin playing. So I don't find it a problem. And by and large, I find that classical records, when I buy them from charity shops or wherever, on eBay, that mostly they seem to be pretty much all right. And I don't really seem to have issues with clicks and pops. That's all I'm saying. But if you do, and you've got this zero tolerance level, well, stick with CDs, stick with streaming. Okay, I understand where you're coming from. Okay, so right, the next one is, a lot of people have said to me, well, you can't really get more than about 22 minutes on one side of an LP. Well, that's not really true, is it? Because I've got some records which will hold Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. You can get the whole 62 minutes or whatever it is onto one LP. And maybe that's not a good example, but I've got records which go way beyond 22.5 minutes each side. I've got records, I mean, most of my LPs look like they sort of use more like 25 minutes, maybe up to 30 minutes. Depends on the piece. Fortunately for me, a Mozart piano concerto lasts about 25 minutes and, will comfortably fit on one side. And that's no problem at all. Same with the string quartet, same with the symphony. If you got like that Mahler 9, Barbarolli, that's a 2-record set, and they've had to use 3 sides because they can't get it onto 2 sides. I think the symphony lasts about maybe 75, 80 minutes or something. So yeah, and one side is blank, of course. Do not play this side. So I don't really find duration a problem, because if you can listen to a whole Mozart piano concerto or a Beethoven piano concerto, then what's the problem? I suppose the problem is that if you want to listen to, let's say Mahler Symphony, you're going to have to turn the record over. It's just a feature of the medium. Luckily, we're not in 78's land, where a Beethoven symphony would require about 6 different records, and you've got to get up and change it every 4 minutes or 3 minutes. So the LP was a huge advance on 78s, and so I don't find duration to be a problem. Running time, playing time. Okay, people say, well, you need a really expensive, mega expensive system to get records up to the level of CDs. I think that's laughable. I think that's absolutely laughable. I would rather listen to one of these £200 all-in systems that you see in HMV. I would rather listen to that than, you know, a CD, frankly. Yeah, I would. Because I've heard those systems, and of course they're not as good as the system that I've got, which is a Riga 2, you know, with a Cambridge Audio amplifier, which is not a brilliant system, but I think it sounds fabulous. But I don't think you need a mega expensive system. My system is worth less than £1,000, and I think it's more than adequate, and I think it produces really good quality sound. So I don't agree that you need a mega expensive system to get up to the level of CDs, or, you know, to get anything worthwhile out of records. I think that's nonsense. However, neither am I advocating that you play records on something like a Crossley. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, price of records. Okay, this is a problem. I've been into the HMV store, I've been into many record stores, and it seems to me that the price, the going rate is about sort of, I don't know, what, £30, £35 for a new release. Talking about pop music, Taylor Swift, that kind of thing. Quite amusing. I went into the HMV store at the weekend with my partner and her daughter. Her daughter's into, obviously, Taylor Swift and that kind of genre, and she picked up a record. You know, she looked really excited, in a way that I don't think she would have been excited if she just picked up the CD, but she picked up the record of a performer that she likes, and she looked delighted. And guess what? That record was £40. And obviously she doesn't have a record player, and her mum said, "Oh, I'm sorry, dear, but you don't have a record player." And, you know, wow, that's expensive. Yeah, I agree. That is expensive. £40 for that record. But there was a delight in her face when she was holding it, and I could see that she just enjoyed the sort of physical, tactile nature, and all the colours, you know, the imagery on the jacket. I could just see that she was excited by the product, and I can understand why young people are turning to records in particular, because they get excited and they enjoy the physical nature of the product, the size of it. And I mean, whether you think CDs are better than records or not, you must admit that, I mean, a record in all its glory, in its cover and everything, looks a lot more impressive than a CD in its jewel case, as a product to buy and own. Yeah, ironically, in the end, that young lady ended up buying the CD version of that, which I think was about £10. She bought a CD version of the LP, and, you know, she was quite happy with it, and she's since played it. She's got a little CD system in her room. Okay, so yeah, price. That is a problem. It's not too much of a problem for me because I don't buy new records. Yeah, I only buy original issues, or rather I only buy records that were released when these recordings came out in the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s, 90s sometimes. So I don't buy anything after about 1990, or say 1995 maybe. So it's not too much of a problem for me. As you know, I do scour charity shops. I buy on eBay, and I wouldn't even say it's a problem on eBay. I've just bought a batch of records on eBay from one seller, looking forward to getting them. And I mean, the most expensive one that I bought was a 3-record set of the Prague String Quartet playing Mozart's Haydn quartets, a 3-record set on Supraphon, and I couldn't resist having it. It cost me, I think, about £16. No, sorry, £15. And that for me is like an expensive record. £15 for a 3-record set. Yeah, so it's great times for classical record buyers who are prepared to buy second-hand. It really is the best of all times. Forget about all the Kogans, forget about all the, you know, the high-end Decca stereos that people are asking £500 for. You don't need it. Just leave that to the people who've got the money and want those records. There are plenty of good records out there that can be had for very little money indeed. So I understand the criticism about price for pop music in particular. And I mean, the only thing I would say is those people who are buying 70s and 80s pop music, go and buy the original issues on eBay. Quite often you won't have to pay more than £5–10 for them, rather than paying 25, 30, 40 quid in the HMV store. HMV are doing three for £66, which I suppose is not a bad deal, 22 quid each. Okay, space. Okay, so yeah, of course, records take up much more space than CDs, and in turn CDs take up much more space than streaming. But I actually like having records around. It's not really a big issue for me. Space, I mean, I kind of design my living space around, I suppose, around my record collection. But you've got to be able to think outside of the box. With records, if you've got a small property like I have, 1-bedroom flat, you've got to be able to find space for your records. Now, in my kitchen, there was a space where the fridge normally sits under the worktop, under the counter. I've been storing in that space packing materials and other things for my businesses, records and something else that I make most of my money out of. And I thought, wait a minute, I could get two rows of records there. I could get about 300 records in that space. So I took out all the packing materials and everything that I store there, and I put them somewhere else, got them out of the way, found a good place for them. And I thought, now I need something that goes in there. And I thought, maybe I'll build a shelf in. I thought, I can't do that because I rent this place and I can't destroy the kitchen unit with screw holes. So I went to a local charity shop that sells furniture, and I got something for £10. It's like a kind of, it's a thing on casters, and it's got like 2 levels on it. And I've measured it, and it fits inside that space where the fridge should go absolutely perfectly. And that's what, now I'll see if I can show it to you on my mobile phone. I've taken a picture of it. I think you can probably just about see, it doesn't look too good there, but you can see the worktop and you can see the unit underneath. It's a perfect fit in there, and that holds about 300 records on 2 levels. So you've got to be able to creatively use your space. So I've made the choice not to have I've got a worktop mini fridge where I keep my milk cool, and butter and that kind of thing. So I've made the choice not to have a fridge and to keep that space for storing records. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I see it as a challenge, and I'd like to see the records in the bookcase, in the bookshelves, and the way that I store them. I don't find it to be a problem. But of course, if you had a big collection, like say 5–10,000, yeah, it'd be a problem. You would need probably to have a couple of rooms in reserve. Okay, cleaning them. Yeah, people saying, oh, you got to clean them every time you play them. No, you don't. No, you don't. I very rarely clean records. I only clean records when it's absolutely necessary. Maybe if I've got a good one that's worth a bit of money, and I try it and it's got a problem, I need to clean it up, yep, I'll clean it up. But apart from that, I don't really clean records. I don't think it's necessary. If you play a record and it sounds fine, why would you want to clean it? Okay. And yeah, it goes with the territory anyway. Yeah, I know there are people who clean a record every time they play it. Okay, that's fine. It just goes with the territory of having records, but for me it's not been a problem. Okay, end of side distortion. Well, that certainly can be an issue. But really, if your turntable's well set up, the amount of distortion that you'll hear from end of side distortion is absolutely minimal, probably not even detectable. You won't even notice it. So I haven't really had issues with end of side distortion. And then there are technical limitations. Yep, so CD's got greater dynamic range, etc., 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 lower noise, all these things. And yeah, I mean, I could concede that. I could concede it, and yet somehow records seem to be doing something in a very, very good way that, in my opinion, CDs are not. I just get more satisfaction out of listening to the actual sound, and for me that's the number one reason why I listen to records. Not because they're tactile, not because they look nice, not because they're impressive to look at, or any of those reasons. It's primarily the sound, and then everything else that I like about records is just like a bonus on top of it. I started listening to my Sony CD player again recently, and within a couple of CDs I was fed up. Back to the records again. So I understand there are those of you out there who love CD sound, and you know that's all you absolutely are completely happy with it, and that's fine with me. So I suppose each to our own. But okay, so I've been through all the main reasons, and I think the main thing is that there's room for all the formats, isn't there, without unnecessarily drawing attention to and going onto record sites. What record YouTube channels, why there are people who love CDs hopping around from channel to channel, of people like me who are vinyl enthusiasts, and making comments, snarky comments about vinyl. Why they're hating on vinyl, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe you know, because I don't. Okay, thanks for watching. This video has gone on too long. I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.